What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. Now, I know I feel like I'd be saying this every month at this point, but this new chapter for Boruto Two Blue Vortex, I think is the best chapter of the manga, hands down. And it's not just because of the panel that we all seen all over Twitter already. That's not it. From a paneling perspective, from the way that it perfectly harnessed the ability of being a monthly manga to its fullest, the way that they concluded the arc in such a perfect way that harkens back to the theme of love that Jura has been talking about the whole arc. It was peak, man. Such a great chapter, one of the best in the series. But I could go on and on about how much I love the chapter. Let's just get right into it. Let's get into one aspect of the chapter that I didn't see coming when I was going to read the chapter, but the fact that I got and so to put it into perspective, I, at the beginning of this arc, said that Boruto and Kawaki probably had a secret plan going on at the start of the arc. When they met up on the monuments, I pretty much said they have a plan going on. They're devising a plan to take on Jura and bring him out of hiding. I didn't know how they were going to do that because for the longest time, right, we didn't know what was going on. And then after after that chapter, we didn't really see Boruto and especially Kawaki in action for a long time. It was deliberately set up for to feel like a Sarda Mitsuki Konohamaru arc with the Sand Ninja, right? We all thought that Boruto was kind of going to take a step back in this arc. So the fact, though, that they set this up perfectly. And I called from the beginning that they probably have a secret plan. I love that because, man, I was just so happy when I saw that because I don't really get a lot of stuff right. So the fact that I got that right and that they actually had a plan in place, that just hit different for me. I loved that so much. Now, moving on from the fact that that they had a secret plan, one aspect of the chapter that I feel like a lot of people have missed so far is when Boruto is trying to find the signal for the pin that he left behind. You can see his karma resonating. His karma is resonating, and he pretty much is telling his karma marking to, it's okay, calm down. While it looks like he's talking to the karma marking, what I think it is I think Boruto and Momoshiki have more of a relationship than is being let on into the manga, right? I think Momoshiki at that point in the story or at that point in the chapter sensed that Boruto was in dire straits, especially because he could sense Kawaki's karma resonating, and Momoshiki was going to make a play to come back into the story right there. But Boruto was able to hold him at bay because he still had enough chakra left. So he essentially was telling Momoshiki, "Don't come out. It's okay." Right? That hit because that's kind of like a blink and you miss it thing, especially if you're just focused solely on like the action that was going on. And I think Kishimoto did that deliberately because it's a very much a blink and you miss it panel because immediately after you go right back into the action. So what I think there is they're setting up that Momoshiki is way more ever present in the manga than it seems like he is, right? Like I've been saying for the longest time, Momoshiki is one of those characters that's going to be operating from the shadows. We're not going to see Momoshiki in the story now, I wholeheartedly believe, until Boruto either loses control or he loses all chakra, right? That's when I think Momoshiki will take over. And I do think he's going to take over at some point because we've seen in the flash forward that Konoha is destroyed. How does it get destroyed? I think Momoshiki takes over and Boruto blames himself in that moment, and that's when him and Kawaki face off. That's what I think at this point, because, like I said, man, Momoshiki's a character that is operating from the shadows. We're not going to see him until I think near the end of the story. That's when he's going to make his grand return to the narrative. Just when you think Boruto is safe and we're never going to see Momoshiki again. that's when Momoshiki will strike, when we least expect him to show up in the narrative. Because I've been saying for the longest time that he could show up literally anywhere. I've been saying this for arcs now. He could show up literally whenever. We're not going to see him now, I think, until the very end of the story. That's what I think. That's the most logical thing now at this point with Momoshiki. Either we're not seeing him to the end of the story or maybe midway through. And if Boruto learns like to have kind of like more of a healthy relationship with Momoshiki, if that's even possible. But that's my stance with Momoshiki. That's pretty much what I think that karma marking panel with Boruto was. That was him telling Momoshiki to go back, and Momoshiki kind of listened. So that's actually really cool. That's I think that's our first real look of Momoshiki in Two Blue Vortex. So I like that. But another thing that I really like about this chapter is this is the first chapter where it really felt like I was watching the anime. Just in terms of like the paneling, how everything was drawn, how the action looked, it straight up felt like I was watching the anime again. And I haven't had that feeling with Two Blue Vortex at all, really. Like I've had it a few times, sure, but this was the chapter where it felt like everything clicked in terms of like the art, the paneling, everything. Everything felt like it was operating at a 10, right? Like this is what I feel is what we've been building to for the longest time. Ikemoto's art has slowly been evolving chapter after chapter. This is the culmination of everything. Like these models that we saw in this chapter, this felt like something that you could see in the anime, right? I felt like I was watching the anime when I saw this chapter, man. That's how good, that's how detailed it looked. Like I don't even know how the anime is going to be able to properly capture this stuff because it's so well detailed. I couldn't believe it, man. Like straight up, this is the best drawn chapter I think in the entirety of Two Blue Vortex, and it blows out a lot of Part One Boruto as well. If you really go back and look at a lot of the chapters, this blows out a lot of it. Like my God, man. And then the final thing that I really want to talk about for this chapter, well, there's a few more things, but what I really liked was Kawaki and Jura's confrontation together. This, in my opinion, set up that Jura is going to be Kawaki's big bad, like that he has to take out in the series, right? Because my thing with Jura is that Jura always felt like someone that was looking for. He's always been looking for knowledge, right? And we thought he was going to have that moment with Himawari. He learned something with Himawari. Like every confrontation that he's had, he's learned something, right? But none of these characters that he's had confrontations with, I felt like could be an adversary for him in the future. Kawaki feels like that. And if he feels like that because not only does he look like he looks like Jigen. He looks like Jigen, so it immediately harkens back to part one, Kawaki kind of confronting his past in a way, but now because Kawaki's stronger and he doesn't have the fear of Ishiki enveloping him anymore, he's now able to take a stand for himself. This is him, and you basically get to see him make a declaration to his now, I guess, mortal enemy that he will be protecting Naruto. He's going to make sure Naruto is safe, and he seals that with flipping him off. The panel that we've seen everywhere all over Twitter, I love that. That was the best way to cap off this arc, in my opinion. But now looking to the future, we got Mamushi going after Ada. That's what I think is going to be one of the big cruxes of the next arc. Mamushi going after Ada, them having to protect her, and then they cap off the arc with a Jigen and Hidari interaction where Jigen is kind of fanboying that Kawaki gave him a compliment. We're seeing Jigen or yeah, we're seeing Jura. We're seeing Jura finally starting to grasp the concept of love, and Hidari seals off the arc with calling Jura essentially an ick. I think that was the best way to end the arc, in my opinion. I loved it. Set up everything perfectly. But let me know what you guys think. How did you guys feel about the chapter? Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm going to talk to you guys in the next chapter next month. I cannot wait. Bye.